Everybody, what we're going to be covering today is quad witching, which actually happened today and expired, and we made it through it without the crash that everybody was kind of expecting. And we'll get into that and drill down into the Nasdaq as well. And we're going to go over a couple other things here. The Tesla trade, I'm definitely going to go over today from people that followed that on Twitter. I'm going to go through it step by step on how that trade was executed so that you can follow along. And then there's a bunch of stocks that moved today. And there's some real actionable ideas here. So as always, subscribe to this channel and click notifications because what we're about to go through gets very timely. So let's just get right into it. And we'll start here. This was the first one I was asked about, GBR. The indicators on this kind of just show me a flat line. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one. Let's just get to it. But you can just see that I'm not really getting any love from the indicators to tell me what to do. So you really are just looking at this little downward trend line here, right? And that actually probably even runs to here if we get really technical, right? So I just don't see any reason to be involved in this right now. I would tell you to wait until you see a pop above this line if you truly want to be in it. You need this to get above this $9 for it to think that it's going to move again. Down here, you're just trading and hoping, and it just doesn't look great to me. And if you take a look, let me get rid of these real quick, and I have no volume, so this is just not something to spend a lot of time on. UUUU is one that we have paid attention to a lot, and I really like this name. And I like how it made this reversal. Let's get into that reversal. We looked at this before, but you can see this was your downward trajectory, and you broke it. And since you broke it, look at the volume that has come in this one since January. I mean, it's just staggering volume. You've gone from 10 million to 40 million, and this is weekly volume. So this is very substantial. And we ran right to support or resistance rather this week of $8, and we rejected. So really a flip of $8 is going to take us to, and that should be your pivot. And we'll go look at the other chart, but that should take us to this 1185 level and then go from there. But there's really nothing here to slow us down. But this is like a train coming right at you. Like that's a lot of volume. That's good stuff. So, and if you look here, you can see how we rejected right there, right? We just came back in. But you broke out of this channel finally, and look at that bar. This has been here a while. That's why I always try to leave the trend lines because it shows if they respect them or not. And get right to that $8 range. But you could probably see this, right? Like look at this trend. See this? And how we rejected it? So we fell back into here, and when you do this, and you always want to clone these lines, because when you clone them, you get the correct trajectory, and they usually fall in place. See how that just fits perfectly there? We just use the same exact angle. So that tells you where you're at. You're in a rising wedge, which sometimes can be bearish. But if I've broken this wedge, the first thing you want to look at, like if I broke to the upside and came back, the very first thing you want to look at to understand is your 21-day, because that's probably where you can go. So you have to understand that you can get to $6. And then if you flip below 6, you're going to go to the lower end of this, 540. So you have to understand that if you're in here now, this needs to be, you need to hold this level, which just coincides with the wedge. I'd like to see it flip back up, but at this point, really at 6.5, there's no edge, right? So if I don't have an edge and the risk versus reward doesn't make sense, I'm just better off waiting. And on something like this, I'm just simply better off waiting until some other things move along. Wait till it gets over $8 and then go from there. SOS is one we've been looking at before, but I'm just trapped here. And we can throw the moving averages in because they do add a lot of color to this. But you can see you have a 5-8 crossover, which we have gone over that moving average crossover in the indicators before, and I can link that at the end of this video. So people can watch that crossover and understand how they work. You can see how here to the downside, here to the upside. So you just understand them a little bit better. But we broke up to this $8 range, and we just can't get through it. And you got to get through this $8 range. This looks exactly like 862. So really what you're going to look for is a high above this bar, which is going to put us at 886, 890 is really what you're looking for here. Until then, I would not get involved in this. This could consolidate. This could form an H. Let's get rid of the indicators. This could form an H and roll. you have a rising wedge here. And rising wedges in this kind of environment have just been nasty. So, I don't want to be a buyer until it confirms, because it could easily just go the other way and head back down to $5. So just keep your eye on this. These failed attempts, bonk, bonk, bonk 4 times. I can't get above this line. That tells you that line's significant. SLGG. This is not a bad looking chart at all. And if you look at the volume, that's pretty substantial today. And let me pop that in real quick. So you can see what I'm talking about. So sometimes to drill down in volume, you have to look at it and really get in there. So you can see this is a 15-minute volume. And let's just go through the day so you can see what I'm talking about. So you see how this is the line. This is a 30-point line, meaning 30 15-minute data points on SLGG. And you can see how we above average buying. All the sell bars are less, above average buying at the end. So it clearly shows that this is being accumulated. Now on a 15-minute chart, and maybe you can see this, maybe you can't. There's your line. If you break above that, and that just gets you above the 21-day, 21 point on the 15-minute. Then you go back here and take a look, and you can see where that would get us. But you do have an issue here that you just need to be aware of on this SLGG. So just be aware you got to stay above that. And right now it seems to be above it, which is good. So if it flips that line will become support. And that's exactly what you're looking for. There were tons of these little cool names this week that people crushed on, which was nice to see. And you can see here like this ZKIN. Look, this is a failed breakout. There's no other way to say it. That's what it did. It failed. Now you ran up, you came down and you ran up. And this is where you're at now. So there's really nothing to do here. This is a reversal bar. So the fact that you closed down here is not great. This is an all-time high close, but look where it landed. Right? You landed right on the previous high. So you need to watch things like that. This again, it's too far, too fast, and then failed breakout usually means it could come back down. So a break of, if I was long this and we broke this 940 level, that's where my stop would be. This is actually setting up nicely. Mogo, I really like this one. If you look at so far, it's doing everything right. So you have this right here, broke out of it to the upside, traded around, now you have a little wedge, and then we broke out again. But look at this. Look at it just testing these levels in this market. Now you can see that 1146 is obviously more important than the 1186 right now times. And by doing that, it's definitely something you have to pay attention to. You have to put that on your radar. So I need to close above 1150. Close above 1150 before I get involved with this. But I like this. I think it's got great action in it, and I really like these big wide bars. It lets me know and how long they are on the buy side. It lets me know that this wants to go. It's just a question of whether or not it does. But the first step is going to be let's break this 1150 and go from there. So this had very positive news today, or I'm sorry, a couple days ago, Ruby. And in regards to it, this is important to understand. So you have these key levels, right? And the one thing I just want to explain to you, you can see where, let's get rid of these indicators, you can see where this jumped, right? You can see that, all right? This is where we already jumped. And then people knew or anticipated this, and then wham, we went straight up. It's just important to understand that when you are looking at stocks like this, when you see support lines like this and you're up and then you close on the high, it's telling you something. And then you can drill down into that and you could look at the volume and what the volume was on those days. And it really wasn't that much higher than normal volume. So that might not have been a great flag, but you can see when all this comes in, and now you just have exhaustion, from this move. Now, what this needs to do here is consolidate and then move higher. And if you break the, your trap between the 5 and the day moving average right now. And if you break this little downward trend of 22.95, you can go to the base of the flagpole, which would be 1786. So just keep that in mind. Your hope here is that inside days, and then you curl up, and then you retest that 38, 39 level. CCIV was one that we were in the newsletter, and we're not stopped out of it yet. But today we closed at the right at the moving average, and which is not great. And the newsletter is free, and there's a link in the bio. I put it out 3 times a week. Stock ideas, color commentary, and also indexes. So you can see how we acted here and what transpired. To me, I just think that you're gonna have to sit, watch, and wait. If we hit the stop, blow it out. These SPACs, when things start getting tough, anything that's a SPAC, is going to get hit a lot harder. These companies are trading without real revenues. They're going to be heavily debt laden, and the interest rates are going up. So it greatly impacts the market cap of these companies. When we correct and when we come back, usually new leaders are found, but they're usually larger cap stocks and more established companies first. And that's because people are putting money into those that own institutions. They're not going to get in trouble for buying a Walmart or a Target. They're going to get in trouble for buying a CCIV when it's down and doesn't have revenues yet. I hope that makes sense. So this is OMI. And this is just really textbook stuff. I think it looks great. Look at this, right? See how you broke out of this wedge here, came back, retested that breakout, and then just curled and ran. This looks great. If you're in this, the only thing that will concern me is this little line right here. So I would wait for it to break above this. So in other words, really what you're looking for is a continuation, a higher high. You can even say $40 and add to it, because this is going to be a major, major mover. This has a tremendous amount of potential to keep going. And you've probably already flipped one, right? Let's get rid of this one real quick because that's nasty looking. But you already flipped one. Oh, come on. Come on. So, yeah, you already flipped this one. So that's good. That's a good sign. Flip this little one and you're heading towards this. So that's like $50. So I like that OMI trade. EXPI, this is one I just massive growth. But let's just look at what's going on here and get rid of the indicators. Here's your channel, and this has been your long-term channel, and you broke out of it, right? And I explain this to people that have watched in the past. When you break out of a channel like this, one or two things are going to happen. It's not rocket science. You're either going to explode to the upside, which is exactly what this did. Look at this move, right? From here to here, right? So in 3 weeks, you're up 85%. And people ask about this. This is the service I'm using is TrendSpider. There's a link in the descriptions, and they give you a 7-day free trial. And as an affiliate, I give a portion of the subscription fee to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So anyway, so you see how we're riding this line down? You're just riding the downside of this one. This is not great stuff. I would almost guarantee that there's a line there. No, there's not really. But let's get rid of the 5 and the 8 for a minute, clean this up. So what you're really seeing happen here is you're just riding it. And now we're back in this channel. So, and I have the 50 and the 21 crossing. And now this 21, and this is what happens with moving averages, this is going to act as resistance. I don't want to be here. This needs to clean itself up, probably retest back down to here, and then attempt to break out again. So that's really what we need to see happen there. Bumble, it's just, let's do an hourly because we want at least 30 points for statistics. If you don't have like 30 bars, it's really statistically insignificant. So let's just get into this. Let's get rid of these indicators because they're irrelevant since we're just basing. So we broke out here of this base, right? This downward trend. We never even closed below it again. This came back, retested the 64 level today, only to what? Rebound back up. Look, This is just it's just building a huge base. We thought it might break out here, and that's not what transpired at all. What transpired was it just hitting that resistance of 74.75, and it didn't break. So we needed to break. It had good earnings. This is worth noting and very important. And this falls into that Tesla trade I'm going to show at the end of this, step by step, and how I did that today. 65.50. Look at that. So you see how you gap filled? So you ran up and then you gap filled all the way to here. And that means you closed at the high and gap filled that. But also look at this. That was your close, right? And look at that. You closed right and you went and touched that close and then filled up and then ran all the way back up. That's pretty substantial. So these backfills are great, and they let us know that we're probably going higher. But now you just have to wait for this channel to break to the upside. So right now, let this consolidate before you do anything. You need to see a 7 in front of the number before you even consider buying it. So this stock has just been an absolute monster of a mover. There's really nothing to say here. Throw this in. Stock's hitting a new high in this market. As crappy as this market's been, this is just huge. So, this is a technical breakout, and I'm flipping this channel, and I just want to show this. I'm going to have to get rid of these 5s and 8 again, but I just want to show this. It's going to take me a little more time, but let's get rid of the 5 and the 8 because this is very interesting. This is where you opened that day and you ran up. Now you've broken this high. You're flipping this channel. I know this has had a huge move, but this is telling you that it's going higher. I mean, you could literally buy this here or Monday and then just use the low of 54.57 as your stop. Because if it breaks the breakout bar, you're not going to want to be there anyway. And then you're setting up for this risk. So this has just been a monster of a mover. HOV, the home builders have been acting really well. Everybody has been trying to buy their first starter home, considering they're not using their money to travel right now. But just look what's going on here. I mean, you're just consolidating and then going up, consolidating, then breaking out. And that's all we're doing here again. This is a really solid move for the stock since January. I mean, look, here's your... that's the easiest one to show. And you can just see, but these stocks don't usually move like this. Like, this is a huge move for the stock. Yeah, they just don't do that. They don't move in this format. So you need to take that into account. Like, that's like the move that happened in the financials. So when they move that fast, they're due to come back. They will come back. So you just have to be careful with them at that point. Now, Penn, I actually thought would go a little higher. On Monday, they're going to be added to the S&P, and usually stocks, people will get in there because they have to get in ahead of time, but that's not what transpired today. So here's the 50-day, and here's the 21-day, and we're trapped in between them, and we're just sitting in there right now. So I don't really see a need to do anything. Usually when they're added to the S&P, after that, they fall down. So if I was long here and I was trapped in here, I would be somewhat concerned. A break of the 50 and a close below the 50, and this could really come in. And there's one line here that I just think that you should just note. So, and we're going to get rid of all these for a minute because I think this is the most significant line. So here, this is your upward trajectory, right? And again, we can clone these because when you clone them, you get the same trajectory, and you can just pop it right in and kind of see where you're at, right? Gives you an understanding. I mean, technically you could say you're here and that you're just failing these breaks, so we'll just leave it there. It's cleaner. But see how we're riding this? And the 50 days riding it? If I break this, and rising wedges end with a break, and the higher they are, the more they come down. So this could be the end of the run for this for a little bit. So just watch that 50-day on the stock. SI was one we put in the newsletter at 133. I was telling people to sell when we were up 20-30%. We kept bumping our head against the 174 line and not breaking. Look, you're wedged in here. There's no other way to say it. You're wedged in here. You're wedged in so many different places. It's nuts. once I flip this trend, I'll go and test 174, 175 again. You could buy this here on this break and be looking at a 10, 15 point move if you want to trade tight like that, and then just use this as your stop. Or you could wait for it to break 175, because if I break 175, I get back in this channel, and then it's a 200 plus stock. So that still has a tremendous amount of potential and looks really, really good. Williams and Sonoma, this was a really solid move. Not one that people usually look at, but look at this gap and look at how we opened up. It just exploded to the upside. And it's really acting very well. And now you've broken this upper channel and you're just off to the races. So this is really good. I mean, it's really a solid move. And it's been around for a while. So let's look at the weekly. Yeah, I mean, this is really very solid. Solid stuff. And this looks like it's going to go higher. Now, this is a huge bar on the weekly because you opened at the low and you closed at the high. So really, if I was interested in this, a higher high would get me interested in adding to the position. Until then, I would expect consolidation, but a higher high just means that we're going to explode to the upside again. Facebook, someone needs to tell them that there's been a tech correction. We're wedged in here between 253 and 304, and we've been in this range. But we're going to clean all this out. That's not what I want. Hold on one second. I want to clear all this out because this is pretty interesting. And this is Facebook. So look at this. Look what it finally did. And, I've been telling people since, this is the weekly. I've been telling people about this since about 6-7 months ago when people were asking me, should they get in it? And I was showing them this line, and really just trying to just highlight this for a minute because I really want to focus on this. So, but what you can see here is, but right, it's made easier for me when I highlight it, but you see how we broke this to the upside? Volume's not great, but that's solid. Now, that gets us back into this channel, right? So, I mean, there's a whole channel here on this weekly that's substantial. See it? Let me see, that's about as good as you're going to get it. So, look at that channel. So that gets you, by the time you get to it, you're at 3 1/4. So this could have another 10-15% in it. I like that idea. 2 more, and then I want to go over the Qs, and I really want to go through that Tesla trade today because I rarely will talk options, but I was asked to in regards to what was going on today with quad witching, which we got through pretty unscathed, and I'm happy about. Quad witching is where 4 asset classes of options expire, and that it went off without a hitch. It's usually very volatile in the morning. That was pretty muted. And what happened today? And then you pegged all day. So we really had nothing resolved on the index. We'll get to that later. ZM, look, you're hitting the 50-day or the 50-week, and you're holding in there. And I really like that. And I'm going to use the 50-week on this because this is interesting now to me. To me, it's interesting. You may find it boring, but you see how you're riding this line? And you're stopping right here, and you just happen to be at this breakout where remember when it had those massive numbers, it was up like 100%? You've not broken that level. That just happens to coincide with your 50-week, and you're consolidating right here. Like, you find a setup here and pay attention to it, and you can kind of see one, right, where the H pattern's here, and if we don't break the H pattern down, we could trend back up. Now, realistically, I would not touch this until it breaks above the 200-day moving average. But that's setting up, and that's definitely something to put in your radar. United Health, let's go through this. A pretty sleepy name, but you can just see this 368 level you're having issues with. You can't really go near it until it breaks that. And then here's your other part of that base right here. So this is really your base and your range. And one thing I always try to explain to people, and I'll throw these 5 and 8 in as well, when your lines go straight like this, and they just start going straight, you really don't want to be in it. Now, the only interesting thing about this is the 21 and 50 are crossing, and they haven't done that before. But it's done it, right? It hasn't really ran on that. It's done it, and then it just doesn't run. So I'd be looking for a 368 close, and I'd like to see a close above that on UNH before I get near it. And Tesla, before I actually walk through this, let's do the cues because the Tesla trade is going to take a little bit for those that want to hear it, the step-by-step on how it went today. So the cues, let's get rid of all these indicators and let's go to the hourly. So we can really drill down and to see what transpired today. So we've been using this chart for weeks, showing these peaks, talking about them in the newsletter and on Twitter. And there's a spot in the newsletter if you want, or there's a spot in the descriptions to click on to follow us on Twitter, which I do give actionable ideas. So there is value there. So you can see how you ran right into this resistance, right? And then we were looking for, this is where we were the one day and everybody was panicking. And I said, look, this is where you want to get, this is where you want to buy. You can go look on Twitter and go look at the timestamps. And then up here I was saying, look, it looks like we're going to reject. This is where you would sell. And we just gap down the next day. I didn't know that we would gap down, obviously. And gap down, retest this line of support today and then bounce through it, which is nice. I didn't expect this little line at 311 to really hold. I truly didn't. And then we rolled towards the end of the day. I don't think anything's resolved here. I mean, if you really want to get into it, there's a trend right here. I don't think anything's really resolved. So my point about looking at this is 311 needs to hold. If 311 doesn't hold, then you're going to 303. And I truly believe looking at this now, and I'm just going to point this out real quickly, I truly believe looking at this now with this break, and we talk about this all the time, rising wedges are bearish. See how it breaks? And once you closed on the outside of this, you were done. And that's exactly what happened. Now look. So you can go back down to this 300 range, 303, and retest. There's no reason that can't happen now. So that's something to consider. Now this Tesla trade, we're going to walk through this. I said last night that this was a short, and we're going to go to let's see where we drew all this at on the 1 minute. So let's go through it all so people understand this. So last night I just said the chart looked awful, and I really think that this could break down, and you should be looking at these 650 options if it happened. So what I waited for today, and I'm going to just slide this over and we're going to walk through the trade. So what I waited for was, this is where we opened, and this is called an overgap. So this is where you gap down, right? And then everybody's like, oh, I'm going to short it. And then it goes up on you, and then everyone's like, oh man, I'm short, I need to cover. And then this is where the money, real money, starts coming in and putting the trade on, right where it closed. They want the best edge possible, right? This is the best edge that you're going to get on the trade because it's right where it closed, and now you have all the information to process already on what happened on the day. And that's what happened. So when this happened, I made sure that we didn't close above that close, and we didn't. And you really had, as I was talking to one guy, you literally had, 10 seconds on this bar, 10 seconds on that bar to pull it off. So this is where I shorted it, and I leave the timestamps up. I timestamp everything, and you can see it on Twitter. So you can see this, right? And now you can see this channel. So then we come up, come back down. I don't know what's going to happen here, and at this point I'm up 50 cents or 50% on the trade, and within a couple, like 3-4 minutes. So I trim, right? Because you don't want it to reverse on you and then not have taken anything. And then I move the stop right to what my cost was. Then we rally, and then we fail. And I want to point this out. This is a pattern. Okay, this happens all the time. And I'm going to point it out to you, and then you'll start seeing it. 1, 2, right? So the first rally usually does not hold. The second one usually holds. And once you know that, you start looking for the second one versus looking for the first one. You start not buying this one and you start buying this one. But that doesn't mean it's going to work. It's just one data point, right? One thing. So when you start watching this, and this is one way to trade it, and then now I have a line. So I was able to draw a line and see a trend. Then I watched it, and then when we hit here, right? And then I reversed up on a higher high bar. I was like, oh, we might not get close enough to this. So this is where I did the second trim, okay? And at that point, I think we were up probably over 100% on the trade. On this reversal, when we held here, this let me know, like, okay, this might be it. Look for a reversal bar. So then you have this consolidation that's going on here. And when you see that consolidation, what happens next? You have a breakout bar. Boom, that breakout bar breaks over that little breakout bar there. That was it. I constantly was moving my stop down on the rest of the trade from here to here. And then this triggers, boom, I'm out. And again, you can go look on Twitter. I literally stated, the bottom's in on Tesla. People were asking me to buy it. I didn't want to be on the buy side today just because of the time value and quad witching. I wanted to get in and out because I know that on quad witching, you go straight. And that's what happened today. You get to a level, you don't know where that level is going to be, and then you just go straight. So that's it in a nutshell. Do me a favor, as always, please like the video. I'm trying to get in front of as many people as possible and show them what it takes to be truly successful at being a consistent and profitable trader. And as always, ask questions and comments. And please let me know in the comments which one of these ideas that I walked through today that you found most helpful, because that lets me create content for next time. Thank you very much. Everybody enjoy your weekend.